So I'm back. I know it's not morning, it's evening, but I'm back to pull some tarot cards for the next how long. In a previous video a couple days ago, I did a reading, and man, that really just felt so resonant and prescient and relevant for me, and I hope that it did for you too. So I'm gonna pull some more cards. I'm back with my Afro Tarot by Jessie Jumanji. Always support our Black artists, our queer creators. I mean, because the fact of the matter is the language you probably use, the style of dress that you wear, how you style your hair, all of these cultural fashion trend things probably more than likely came from a Black queer person. So the least you could do is patronize and support their survival, which is what I like to do. So Jessie Jumanji has Afro Tarot. They actually just released a new deck, which looks even way better than this, and I'm so mad I don't have it. But anyways, support your local Black artists, support your local Black queer artists. Let's see what wisdom we can receive in this moment for the next however long. I always start by cutting the deck. And we have the Queen of Wands. This is a card of self-possession. Do you know what self-possession is? It means to take ownership of the self. Now that sounds really simple and straightforward, but I can tell by the way that things are going that this is not something that comes easy for us. This way of inhabiting our bodies, this way of taking ownership of our bodies, this way of trusting our own judgment, this way of no longer outsourcing our understanding, that have held over our heads the threat of annihilation if we did not conform our identities and our beliefs to what it is that they say, to how it is that they see us. How easy or difficult is it for you to be authentic in your feelings and in your body and in your identity without or in spite of fear of harm, fear of destruction? Can you set boundaries without fear of abandonment or in spite of fear of abandonment? Can you inhabit the authenticity of your emotional reality even when you are receiving no validation for it, even when you are not seen and acknowledged? Something that the Queen of Wands teaches us is that in order to be seen, you have to show yourself. And in order to show yourself, you have to know yourself. And in order to know yourself, you have to be willing to engage in the dirty work of vulnerability and intimacy that allows people to see you without the caked on makeup and costumes of who you were told you are and who you're expected to be. I always like to remind people that when it comes to identity and authenticity, this is not about, I don't care what you think and I don't need your validation. No, understand that this is about survival. Who do you have to be to survive? Who have you had to be to survive? That's what the Queen of Wands wants to know. Are you ready to shake it off and step into authenticity? It's scary. It's scary. You know how I know it's scary? Because when we observe people who are self-possessed, who are embodying authentically how they feel, how they see themselves, most people experience that as a threat. Look at Lil Nas X, just being themselves all the way to the hilt. I mean, no abandon, no holding back. And look at the anger, the rage, the nastiness that it engenders from people, right? We've got the Three of Wands. Two wands, fire. Fire takes up space. Fire walks into a room and expects for things to change because they are in that room. Fire embraces a healthy sense of entitlement that because I exist as I am, the environments that I enter, the spaces that I'm in, the communities, the relationships, and all the spaces that I occupy should look like me. I should not walk into a space and feel invisible because people refuse to acknowledge that I exist. And sometimes their refusal to acknowledge you exist is not because they ignore you or they don't talk to you or they avoid making eye contact with you. It is a refusal to acknowledge you exist because they refuse to change the behaviors and habits that lead to your harm. How many spaces do you occupy that refuse to change in light of the reality that you exist? How many spaces do you avoid because of the pain and violence of erasure and invisibility that you experience? This is broader too. In a culture where whiteness is the norm, where cisgendered heteronormativity is the norm, where heterosexuality is the norm, right? There are so many places where the true freedom of who and what we are is dangerous to show up. So I feel like these Three of Wands is saying, you may not be up to it today, and you may not be up to it tomorrow. It might take a few months or a few years, but I promise you, if you set the intention today to embody the authenticity of who and what you are so freely, so deeply, so intimately, that the space will be made for you. You cannot be seen if you're not willing to show yourself. And that's just a really dangerous and scary place to be. Because what if you show yourself and they hurt you? I bet you have some experiences in the past where you showed yourself and you were harmed. And so it makes what I'm saying right now sound really crazy. But this isn't a competition, and there are no awards or medals given out. This is life. This is survival. So I just want to encourage you and myself to take up space. Don't be afraid to change the rooms and spaces that you occupy. Expect them to change. Expectation. We have a culture of avoiding expectation, a culture of lower your expectations. Don't have any expectations or else you're going to be disappointed. What's wrong with being disappointed? You've been disappointed before. Did you survive? Are you alive? How did being disappointed change you? How did being disappointed affect your capacity to be authentic now? Right? In spite of the possibility of disappointment, we do a lot of things. And for something as so magical, something so important as you, being who you are, being the you that you are even becoming aware of, that's important. And it's okay if the fear of disappointment or harm makes it really hard for you, but just set the intention. Imagine, what does it look like? Just take a step in that direction. We're in a time where whiteness is working overtime as if they are getting double time and a half to erase anyone who does not look like them, because whiteness has a very strong sense of entitlement that every single piece of soil they step on, every room they enter, every place where they are inhaling air should change to look like them. Willing to inflict violence on us to do it. Willing to kill themselves to do it. I always say whiteness is like being on a ship, and at some point they notice that there are non-white people on there. There are Black people. There are Indian people. There are First Nations people. There are Asians and all kinds of people who don't look like them. And in an effort to preserve their own identity, they begin to take hatchets to the hull of the ship. They take hammers and mallets and anything that they can find to destroy the ship, not realizing that in erasing other people, they've erased themselves. I always say white people have given up a lot too in order to be white. White is a fabrication. Someone made it up. Right? How are you reclaiming the authenticity of who you are? And what steps are you taking in this moment towards that greater sense of embodiment. That's all I got. I don't have no cool breaths today or anything like that, but I've been wanting to get on here and share some cards, so I thought I would, and I did. I hope this blessed you. You all stay safe this weekend. Really sit in some stillness and take some time to process everything that has happened so that you can tap into your own divine connection. You can divine without cards. You are a medium and an instrument of divinity. And that means if you can get still and quiet enough, slow your breath down a little bit, cut out some distractions, you can hear too. So that's my hope for you all this weekend, is that you take some time to hear and to listen and to cut the distractions, be still for a moment, so that you can divine how best to protect yourself, your loved ones, and anyone that you're in community with. That's all I got. Y'all take care. Bye.